translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki. While wandering in the forest, it's okay, don't have to repeat this bit. Eating to satisfy his senses, the he-goat by chance approached a well, in which he saw a she-goat standing helplessly, having fallen into it by the influence of the result of fruitive activities. Here, Maharaja compares himself to a he-goat and Devanaya to a she-goat, and describes the nature of man and woman. Like a he-goat, a man searches for sense gratification, wandering here and there, and a woman without the shelter of a man or husband is like a she-goat that has fallen into a well. Without being cared for by a man, a woman cannot be happy. Indeed, she is just like a she-goat that has fallen into the well and is struggling for existence. Therefore, a woman must take shelter of her father, as Devana did when under the care of Sankarya. And then the father must give the daughter in charity to a suitable man. Or a suitable man should help the woman by placing her under the care of a husband. This is shown vividly in the life of Devanya. When King Yata delivered Devanya from the well, she felt great relief and requested Yasha to accept her as his wife. But when Maharaj Yata accepted Devanya, he became too attached and had sex life not only with her, but with others, like some Misha. Yet still he was dissatisfied. Therefore one should retire by force from such family life as Yashita. When one is fully convinced of the degrading nature of the worldly family life, one should completely renounce his way of life, take sannyas and engage himself fully in the service of the Lord. Then one's life will be successful. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gauranga Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Last time I gave class, the end, I was asked about Vanaprast and the importance of Vanaprast. This particular chapter is talking specifically about the need for Vanaprast. But it's no use taking Vanaprast if we get the rest of it wrong. You get the first bit wrong, the second bit is wrong, the third bit is wrong, and the fourth bit will not happen. In the devotee community, we get very excited. We go, Brahmachari, yes, Brahmachari. We have specific guidelines as to what we believe Brahmacharis are. Yes, they do this, they do that, they do the other. Jai. And then we go, Grihasta. And we go, yep, Grihasta. We know exactly what Grihasta is all about. Yep. So there's always somebody going to go into Grihasta ashram. And then we go, then it's Vanaprast. Moving swiftly on to sannyas. And we all like sannyasis, especially when they visit, because then we get the nectar, So we come into the temple room and, so-and-so Swami's turned up, the temple room's packed out. Yeah. But if we don't get Brahmachari right, then Grihasta life's going to be a bit of a disaster. And then we're going to come into Vanaprast with the wrong idea. And we've seen this many times within the society, where the husband's had a row with the wife has told him to go, so he comes to the temple, I'm going to take Vanaprast. And the next thing we know that he's back with his wife. Yeah? This is attachment. And these verses are actually going very much into this type of attachment, why we get it, what is the cause of it, how do we get out of it. But there always seems to be a little of a contradiction here, because we talk about women and we say that the women should be under the shelter of a man, and, you know, it seems to be a little bit out of step with modern society. You know, the sisters, they're doing it for themselves, they don't need men. And so, yes, we can do it. Without the shelter, then they become the plaything, the toy, wandering from one relationship to another relationship to another relationship. I always remember I got to spend some time with a midwife, and I went to the first clinic when you go and see the midwife. So we're going through the dates, you know, sort of trying to work out approximately when you're going to be due and the birthing plan and what have you. And it always amazed me that we had 2 or 3 coming through, and they'll go, well, I'm not too sure who the husband is. I was sleeping with 3 men at the time, so it could be one of the 3, but I hope it's this one because he's nice, and I don't quite like that one, but this one gives me money, so, you know. And then we had one, and she's 7th child, 7th man. What a state society is coming to. But we consider ourselves elevated. So the moment we go and get texts like this, purports like this, immediately people go, well, you know, this is old-fashioned, this is old hat. You know, we don't conduct ourselves like this in modern-day society. Problem with modern-day society is that we've devalued women so much that we've made them into a commodity, not a prized possession. We see in TV that we don't see Varnashram Dham depicted anywhere. What we do see is half-naked women trying to sell us things. You want to sell a product? Half-naked woman will do it. Whether you're selling a product to women or you're selling a product to men. If you look at the soaps, they're going from one relationship to another relationship to another relationship. Where does that get society? Get society nowhere. The women get frustrated. The men can't satisfy their lusty desire. This is what the purport's talking about, is men's lusty desire. It's not a purport about the Matijis, it's a purport about men and their lusty desire and combating lusty desire. But we can't do this without Varnashram Dham. So we have to go and get each one correct. But we also have to understand the unique role of Mataji and what it means to be mother and what it means for the women to take shelter of the men, because firstly they can't take shelter if you're not qualified. Yeah? How many Matajis here wants an unqualified husband? One who doesn't know how to care for her, one who doesn't know how to get a job and earn some money, one who's so self-eccentric that his only concern is himself. How many people find that desirable? Matajis are very quiet today. Better not answer this one. We accept that in the society, generally speaking, people will go into the Grihastha ashram. And I was trying to work out, because we seem to have a problem where we have a lot of divorces in the society. We're moving from one to another, and this is not acceptable. And I thought, where can I get very good examples of people that have gone into the Grihastha ashram and have made it very, very successful. And so I sent a quick email to New Zealand. They have a very, very tight control. If you go into any of the loft there, you come into the guidance of the loft. If you want to go into Grihastha ashram, they will help you. But they also have strict rules and regulations. And this is good for society because, one, it teaches the men how to respect the lady very, very nicely. You have old married ladies who have left, the husbands have taken Vanaprast, and the ladies are within the temples, within the centres. Women are great educators and great protectors, if used correctly. And they're there guiding not only the Matajis, but they're also teaching the young men how to look after and care for their wives. And we see that in society, so it's all based around lusty desires. I'll enjoy your body, you enjoy my body, you enjoy my money, I enjoy your money. Last 1 year, 2 years, if you're lucky, maybe 3, 4. Eventually it collapses. It is of note that there is no divorce in the Krishna consciousness movement. Okay? There's a big gulp there because we probably there's so many people. So how do we make this transition? How do we make it correct? So, questions for devotees entering the Grihastha ashram. You go to New Zealand, you say, I'd like to join the Grihastha ashram. The first thing you get presented with is, right, here's some questions. They're not only questions for yourself, but they are questions for your prospective partner. Okay, because normally when you're talking about going into a Grihastha ashram, it's usually because you've already clocked someone. So. And the first set of questions are spiritual standards. How advanced do we want to be in our Krishna consciousness? How serious are we about our Krishna consciousness? If we're not serious about our Krishna consciousness, then what are we going to bring to the relationship? Because it will be a relationship based solely on lusty desires. So there's only 6 questions. But the first one is the most telling. How many regulative principles do you want follow? It's an interesting one. The first question you're going to ask yourself is, how many regulative principles am I willing to follow? Yeah? So we're coming into the Grihastha ashram. If there is an indifference between what your partner and you want to follow regulative principle-wise, there is going to be difficulty. Especially if you want to follow correctly, in as much as you're not going to indulge the sex senses, but are going to, even in marriage, only indulge for the creation of good children. This is probably one of the hardest areas of Grihastha life. It is very difficult. In fact, the purport is actually bringing this to the fore. It's very difficult for a man to be in a room with a very, very beautiful lady without being overtaken by sex desire. So this makes Grihastha ashrams probably one of the most difficult, because you spend more time with a very beautiful, attractive lady. So if you're not willing to follow the regulative principles correctly, then you need to have a discussion, and it has to be an open discussion. There was an example one time when Srila Prabhupada found out that one of the people was seeing a prostitute. He's married. He's seen a prostitute, and the wife was beside herself. Yeah? It's very difficult for a wife if the husband is going off chasing other women. Okay? The woman expects at least some loyalty. Yeah, if you're going to marry her, put a ring on the finger, then she expects loyalty. But he was seeing a prostitute, and she was very, very much upset by this. So she actually brought it, and Prabhupada called him too and said, "Okay, please explain this to me." And he goes, "Well, Maharaj, it's very simple. I have these lusty desires, but my wife is very chaste. I don't want to pollute my wife, so I go and see a prostitute." He had justified what he was doing in the mind. Yeah? Anybody who's ever seen anything remotely like daytime TV will notice that when they come to relationships, it's always because one has toddled off and is having relationships with another, and the other person is saying, "But you know, you're meant to be with me, but you're with this other person, this other person, this other person." Always lusty desires. And Prabhupada turned around and said, "No. You do not go to a prostitute. You go back to your wife. And you work it out between the two of you." A chaste wife will bring you back home, back to Godhead, because she will keep you in line. She will also help you as you go into Vanaprastha, if she's a good chaste wife. She will also, once you've taken Vanaprastha, and it's an interesting comment that Prabhupada made. I'm just going to pull it up. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is the process of renunciation at the stage of Vanaprastha. After enjoying household life for some time, okay, enjoying, yeah, the husband and wife must leave home and distribute their riches to Brahma as a and Vaishnavas. There's a bit of detachment there, isn't there? You've got to kind of distribute what you've become, you know. So I've got a home, and there's an awful lot of stuff in the home, and you get attached to little bits. You get attached to the home as well, you know. So we make the mistake. We go, "It's my home." It's not. It's Krishna's home. Actually, it's my home's Gauni ties. They spend more time there than me. It's their home. One can keep his wife as an assistant in the Vanaprastha stage. The idea is that the wife will assist the husband in spiritual advancement. The wife's chasteness will help to advance the husband. Okay? That's a tough job, isn't it? And it's on about the pastimes of Narendra Muni. Therefore, Narendra Muni advises the hunter to adopt the Vanaprastha stage and leave home. It is not that the Grihastha should live at home until he dies. Vanaprastha is preliminary to sannyas. And then he makes a notation. In the Krishna consciousness movement, there are many young couples engaged in the Lord's service. Young couples, what are they engaged in? Not sense gratification, but in savour. If you're engaged in savour, there's no room for lusty desires. Okay? And that includes raising our children in a very Krishna conscious manner, isn't it? We are educating our children. So the father should be an example to their son. This is how you conduct yourself. This is how you respect women. This is how you look after your wife. If the son sees that the husband is hitting the wife, demanding of the wife, chaining her to the sink, the son picks up, and that's what the son does. Anybody that's worked in abuse cases will notice that there is a repetition of cycle. So our job is education. How to respect and to care for the wife. Which means that we give the wife the facility for her to be a good mother. The term house and wife is a label that many women are dropping. But it is the best label ever, because it's the most important work. So we need to educate. And we do this by serving the Lord very nicely. If we're serving the Lord very nicely, if we're chanting very nicely, then this example the children pick up on. Eventually they are supposed to take vanaprast, and after the vanaprast stage, the husband may take sannyas in order to preach. Okay? The wife may then remain alone and serve the deity or engage in other activities within the Krishna consciousness movement. Now, I've been asked many times by some of the Mataji's, well, I don't have a son. I don't have a son that I can take shelter from. So what's going to happen to me when my husband either dies or takes vanaprast? Prabhupada's very clear. Serve the deity or engage in other activities within the Krishna consciousness movement. We talk about the sannyas, and the sannyas sends the brahmachari where to? To where his wife is. And the brahmachari learns how to serve the wife very nicely. He's taken sannyas, his wife is in the temple. Okay, my wife is in such and such a temple. Go and spend X amount of years there. And what's she doing? She's training him how to be respectful of mother. How to serve mother very, very nicely. Does that make sense? So all in all, as we're going along, what we're learning is to drop lusty desire and actually to learn the proper principles of respect for Mataji. One of my god sisters, every now and again, I will drop the term Mataji into the conversation, only because it's been so misused over the years that she does not like the term full stop. So I go, okay, Mataji. And immediately, don't! And she now catches herself and she starts laughing. Yeah. Mataji should be a term of affection. Yeah. Should always be a term of affection. So I'm going to go back to the questions. What is your understanding of Gadanda and Sankara? What is your understanding? And again, it comes back to lusty desires, isn't it? Because if you're just enjoying sex pleasure, and it's, oh, I'm very sorry, I've got something to tell you, I'm pregnant. Do you remember actually you might not remember, we were drunk at the time, but, this is modern day society, isn't it? So, I had a one night stand, I'd better phone him up and tell him that he's a father. Look, that wasn't the deal, Don't come to me for money. I'm not supporting this kid, it's your fault. You get on with it. This is modern day society. Yeah. It always amazes me that I go to one client and he always has the same program on, and they're always doing paternity tests. It's not my child, it's got to be somebody else's because they keep coming to me asking for money. So, I'm sorry, but you are the father and you need to become a father. No! But if you're actually following Vinashrandam properly, if you're actually understanding, then when do you go into sex life? When you know that you can bring up the child in a fully Krishna consciousness manner, which means that we need to get our mentality right. Which means that we read Srimad Bhagavatam daily, Bhagavad Gita daily, that we make sure that we do our rounds. That we make sure that if we're a householder living at home, that our deity worship is done nicely. That we're distributing prasadam nicely. That our mentality, even when we're in work, we're thinking about Krishna. I took my client, we were on the MV Balmoral on the weekend, sailing in the Bristol Channel. And I was sat there on the deck whilst everybody else was drinking alcohol and trying to numb the pain of choppy sailing. And I was sat there thinking, how am I going to present Srimad Bhagavatam class while stroking my client's hair? And, so they clutched in. They were feeling quite tired. So I was just thinking about Srimad Bhagavatam. How to present. So even though it appeared that I was on a boat, enjoying, I love sailing, so, it appeared that I was enjoying myself. But still, we're thinking about Krishna. Yeah. We're inputting data, we can be thinking about Krishna. So we can be looking after the cows, and we're thinking about, we're very privileged here, aren't we, when we're looking after the cows, because we can have nice bhajans on and what have you at the same time. Yeah. So I was talking to one person who said, well, I deliver parcels, great. Well, in between your deliveries, then you've got time to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam. I'll put a nice kirtan on. You can always make adjustments. I know one devotee works in IT, and he's always, during the day, he sends me links to stuff that he's just listened to. Don't tell his boss he's listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. Boss is paying him, he's listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. It's great. What service do you see yourself doing? You see how the first set of questions is actually probing, isn't it? Probing. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing for your advancement? Okay, if the wife is meant to follow the husband has to be going somewhere. Okay? The husband doesn't want to behold the husband's hand and leading the husband. That's very hard work. She's got enough children and everything else leading the husband's not very ideal. Okay, so the husband needs to be going somewhere. Where does the husband need to be going? Husband needs to be going back home, back to Godhead. So he needs to be working towards that. If he's working towards that, then that makes the wife's life that much easier. Okay, and that means that you make sure that the wife is nicely situated and that you give her provisions so that she too can follow. Okay? How often do you read Srila Prabhupada's books? And what is the priority of japa in your life now and in the future? 16 rounds of japa is the minimum, and it's not till we get initiation, jai, Now I can bloop and go down to 4 because it's a bit more realistic. It's not till we get second initiation and then we're going, well, I'm too busy serving the deity, so I don't really have to do the japa now. Jai, great. It's not till, well, you know, Prabhu, I've got 3 kids now. He possibly couldn't expect me to do 16 rounds of japa. Yeah. So we have to be realistic about our japa. We get the japa wrong, then we can't really enter into Srila Prabhupada's books. If we can't enter into Srila Prabhupada's books, then we can't serve nicely. If we can't serve nicely, then our home life will be difficult. Personal. So we've gone from spiritual to personal. So, you know, like women, they always have their questions on the ideal husband, and they have, you know, sort of the tick boxes, and the husband has to tick so many boxes, and if he ticks the boxes, then he's in. Yeah, you know, when you're looking, yeah. Do you know about the tick boxes? Yeah. He has to be so big, so, you know, has to have so, you know, so. Well, we have to have tick boxes in our spiritual life. Jai Shri Shri Radhika Kulananda, Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman, Shri Shri Ganatime. And the first question is, what makes you want to enter the Grihastha ashram? If it's solely based on lusty desires, you're going to have problems. If it's because you know that you have the desire to have a child, that you want to be close, then you make provisions for Grihastha life ashram. In the knowledge that the person that you're going to go with is going to be at least a 25-year commitment. Most people, when it comes to mobile phone contracts, go, 2 years? No, a lot could happen in 2 years. You know, we don't want to sign on the 2-year contract. If you're going to go into Grihastha lifetime, this is at least a 25-year commitment, Prabhus. Minimum. You have to be responsible. How many people, does it sound so appealing now? 25 years brahmachari going to sannyas, 25 years grihastha, and you've got a whole lot of service ahead of you. Yeah. You've got to deal with your wife's mind, your children's minds, balance your job and the house and the work, deal with the nagging. There's one Prabhu, and he said, yes, I'll get married, but I want a wife that doesn't nag. Okay, take sannyas. It's not going to happen. What do you find most challenging in your spiritual life? Again, you know, what do you find challenging in your own spiritual life? This is about being honest with yourself, because if you can't be honest with yourself, you can't be honest with anybody else. Apparently the most intelligent people are the ones that lie a lot, because they have to remember so much. Yeah. If you're always truthful, you know you don't have to remember so much. You can only just remember the important bits. Yeah. This is devotion. We should actually just have memory just for the good bits, and we shouldn't have to remember what we've said to somebody else, because we've got to keep that story going because of lying's very hard work. So we have to, and this is, as we get on and we read in Srimad Bhagavatam, it starts getting very, very harder, because what does it do is it starts putting the mirror to us. And we're very good at saying, yes, I know this. It just appertains to that Prabhu over there. Or maybe that one. Definitely that one. But we don't like that bit. I think it appertains to me. Oh. No, I noticed that, you know, sort of, when Prabhupada mentioned specifically about nature, a lot of devotees go, well, I don't really want to talk about this, because it's very difficult to talk about our particular nature. This is talking about men's lusty nature. It's very difficult to talk to. It's a very difficult subject matter, So it's, I don't really want to talk about it. Can I talk about something else? What do you relish the most in your spiritual life? Have you noticed that even the personal is actually asking about spiritual? So it's not actually asking, what does the person have to look like? Do they have to have blue hair, dark hair? Do they have to be so tall? Do they have to... No. It's about being personal with yourself, about your own spiritual life. And then personal with the other person. So the other person is actually answering these questions. Are you a spiritual match? If your goals are different, married life is going to be exceptionally hard. The most successful Krishna consciousness marriages are those where both husband and wife are focused on service. We have some amazing grihastas who are running centres as husband and wife with young children. This is amazing. Why? Because their focus is not on lusty desires, their focus is on spiritual. This makes successful grihasta life. 25 years minimum. Let's make them productive. Are you suffering from any serious bad health condition? What limitation does it put upon you? You have to be realistic. This is the Krishna consciousness movement. This is about being realistic with oneself, truthful to oneself. And then, do you want to stay in Grihastha ashram lifelong? Or do you want to take up renounced life in the future? I was with a couple during the other week, and I said, initially it was solely about Vanaprastha. And I said, Vanaprastha. And his wife wasn't really listening very, very well, and I said, so anyway, I said, we've got a place for your husband for when he takes Vanaprastha. He said, okay, if he takes Vanaprastha. And she immediately looked at me and she goes, yes, that's fine. Yeah, Vanaprastha, that's great, yeah. So I turned to her husband and I said, okay, your wife says you can take Vanaprastha. And then she suddenly realised what I'd said, and she goes, no. Anyone but my husband. Okay? Anyone but this is my husband, he's mine. Yeah? So you have to be honest. If your Grihastha ashram is strong, and that you are both working in Krishna consciousness, and taking Vanaprastha and sannyas is not always necessary. However, you have to be realistic. And there comes a time when the wife or the husband is no longer palatable. So it's best to actually make sure that provisions are there so that you can come out safely and that you both remain spiritually strong at all times. And we see, sadly, don't we, where, we see marriages break up and then one person or the other we never see again in this society. It's very sad. So we have to be very, very realistic and very, very serious. And the last one is, what is your expectations of a future husband or wife? Yeah. We had to be realistic about that. I was once asked, if you were looking for a wife, what would you be looking for? And I said, maybe somebody that will help me do the preaching. Because sometimes I'm not very organised, so actually somebody to organise and help me, especially with the cooking bit. That did not go down very well. Anyway, I'm looking at the time. We're at 25 past, so we finish at past, don't we? There is a set of questions then about actually going into the Grihastha ashram. There is also connected with that, which is actually a guidelines for engagement, and this is anybody in New Zealand that's under the loft. If you want to go into Grihastha Ashram, you have to follow the engagement rules. The engagement period, if you're under 30, is 2 years. 1 year supervised. 1 year unsupervised, and when I say unsupervised, that means that you're serving together in the temple. If you're over 30, then it's a minimum of 1 year engagement, 6 months supervised and 6 months unsupervised. And this is to give you time to actually really to get to know each other, not only to know each other as a person, but also to know each other in service. Most marriages don't last the first 2 years. If you've had a long engagement and you've sorted out a lot of your problems, your marriage is going to be successful. You know, what happens is we have a whirlwind engagement of a few months, and then they suddenly start living together, and then there's problems. There is a whole guideline there, and also a recommendation on studying together, Srimad Bhagavatam, serving together, and it's interesting that there is also a lockout period. If you are in the particular ashrams, you are expected to be in your respective ashram at respective times. So anyway, I will leave it there. If anybody wants to see their guidelines, then I'll be more than happy to forward them on to you. So any questions, corrections, thoughts?